Hello and welcome to another exam paper walkthrough. Today we're looking at a fantastic set of papers produced by PixiMaths. Really good website. I use this a lot for my Year 11 revision. They've got fantastic scaffolded worksheets. Good lessons with 3 levels of they call it a RAG rating. Really good results. Really good website. And they've produced a fantastic set of predicted or best guess papers. Today we're looking at the foundation tier paper 2A. So they've produced 2 sets. This is the set A. Okay, we'll start off. The first one is about ordering numbers. So we've got whole numbers, we've got integers, negative and positive integers, and then decimals. So question 1, ordering these numbers. My smallest number here is 25. So I have a habit of writing the number down, then crossing it out. So 25. My next smallest then is 52. My next smallest is 55. I've then got 102, and then finally 120. Separate them with commas just to make it clear to my marker. Part B, write these numbers in order of size, starting with the smallest. So my smallest is -5. I've then got -2. I've then got 0. Then I've got my positive integers, 3 and 6. Again, separate them with commas. And then finally, this one can cause a little bit of confusion if you're not confident with your decimal numbers. A tip, if you are struggling, is to add 0 placeholders to make them all the same number of digits. So we've got 3 decimal places. So if I add digits to make them all 3 decimal digits, I can then just look at the decimal part. So I could call this 630, 633, 603, 660. So ordering those is much more straightforward, and then remembering that we need to write them as the starting number. So the smallest number is 60 or 0.06. My next smallest one then, did I cross that out? There we go. My next smallest one then is 600, which started out at 0.6. Then we've got 0.603, so I'll cross that one out and that one out. Then we've got 0.63, and then finally 0.6, miswrote there, 0. And then finally 0.633. Okay, and that's that question. Okay, question 2. Here is a clock in a school. The school starts 15 minutes earlier than the time shown on the clock. What time does the school start at? So if it's currently showing as 9:55 or 8:55 or 5 to 9, 15 minutes earlier would be, with the big hand there, so it would be 8:45. My writing's not working particularly well. Part 2. The first lesson ends 55 minutes after the time shown on the clock. What time does the lesson end? So I'm sure you don't really need it, but I'm gonna just use my calculator for this. Just to show you this time function. So if the lesson starts at 8 hours and 55 minutes, to that we want to add on 45 minutes, so 0 hours and 45 minutes, and that gives us end time of 9:40. So 9:40. We'll go AM on both of these, although I'm sure you won't lose a mark for not. Part B, the school finishes at 2:30 p.m. Write 2:30 p.m. 2:20. Write 2:20 using a 24-hour clock. Well, in effect, we just need to add on 12, so we're looking at 15:20. Okay, question 3. Here is a bill for dishwasher repairs. Complete the table. So we've got filter, number, cost, total. Basket wheel, 8, £1.50, and we need a total. So that's going to be 8 times by £1.50, or times by 1.5. So that's going to give us 12. So 12 will be our first missing value. We've then got total, and we know that costs for 2, so we'd do 20.9 divided by 2. So that gives us 10.45, £10.45. And labour charged at 1.5 for labour charged for 1.5 hours at £18 per hour. So we don't want to do 18 times by 1.5 or times by 1.5. I'll actually show you if I want to enter it as a mixed fraction. We press shift and then the fraction button. So 1 and 1/2. So 27. And then total cost is going to be these prices are added together. So 27 plus 20.9 plus 12 plus 28.85. So my total cost in a decimal is going to be £88.75. Okay, question 4. Geeta spins a fair eight-sided spinner on the probability scale marked with a cross, the probability that the spinner will land on C. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 C's out of a total of 8 sides, so that's going to be slap bang in the middle. So I'm going to put arrow and a cross. On the probability scale, mark with a cross the probability that the spinner will land on D. So we've got 0 D's, so that's going to be at 0. Okay, question 5. We've got quite a few of these. So write 1/4 as a decimal if you don't know. So I can use my calculator for this. 1/4 equals, and as a decimal that would be SD, 0.25. As a fraction, so 0.15, so 0.15. Again, we can do our calculator for this. 0.15 equals 3 out of 20. If you can't spot it. And then 17 out of 40 as a fraction. So type it in like that. 17 out of 40. If you press equals, that can't be simplified, so 17 out of 40. Okay, question 6. Two-way table shows information about the number of ice creams sold in a shop. So I like two-way tables. Complete the two-way table. So all the information has been put in for you. Often it will ask you, this is a wordy question, and you extract the information yourself. I'm going to do this one first of all. So that's going to be 265 minus 153. So we're looking at 112 there. I'm going to do this one next. So 65 minus 38, so 27. I'm then going to do, let's go for this one. So 27 plus 34 equals 61, and I want to do 112 minus that answer, so 51. I'll do this one next. So 51 plus 63 will give me 114. I'm going to do this one next. Actually, I'll do this one next. So just because I've got it on my calculator at the moment. So 114 plus 65 is going to be equal to that. And I want to do 265 minus that. So 86. And then I should be able to do this one two ways. I'll start with this way and then I'll check it. So 86 minus 34 should be 52. And then we'll double check that with this line. So let's see if we get 52 by doing 63 plus 38, so that adds up to 101, and then 153 minus that answer gives me 52. So double checked, so we're confident with that one. Okay, question 7. So solve m minus 3 is equal to 4. So I want to get rid of the minus 3. To get rid of a minus 3, we would add 3 on both sides, giving us m is equal to 7. So 7. And then for the second part, we've got 2 steps this time. We want a minus 6 first of all. So that will give us 3m is equal to, double check everything on your calculator, 18. Then divide both sides by 3. So 18 divided by 3 would give you 6. Okay, and question 8. Pictogram shows the number of laptops sold in the shop on Monday and Tuesday and on Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We've got a diagram key here, represents 8 laptops. How many laptops were sold on Wednesday? So if each full box represents 8, so we've got 8, 16, and then each small block, 8, 8, and then each small block is going to represent 8 divided by 4, so 2. So how many laptops were sold? We've got 18 sold on Wednesday. The second part. On Thursday, 2 laptops were sold. On Friday, 24 were sold. Show this information on the pictogram. So we try and always keep our pictures consistent to what's already in the question. So for Thursday, I want 1 small block, and then for Friday, 24 divided by 8 is going to be equal to 3. So I want 3 full blocks. 2, 3. Okay, and question 9. Write 2,530 correct to 2 significant figures. Sorry. So the 5 is the second significant figure. So it's either going to be a 5 or a 6. The number behind it is a 3, so we'd keep it as a 5. So that would be 2,500. And then part B, write 0.0874 correct to 1 significant figure. So again, the 8 is currently the first significant figure, and we need to decide whether keep it as an 8 or round it to a 9. The number behind the 8, or the third decimal place, is a 7, so we would round it up, so that would become 0.09. Okay then, question 10. Show the inequality x is less than 3 on a number line. So I like these. We do a circle at 3. We decide which direction we want x to represent. We want x to be less than 3, so the arrow's got to go that way. And then we decide if it can be equal to, we would shade this in. It's a bit like mercury in a thermometer or liquid in a tube. We don't want it to go into the tube, so we don't shade it in. Part B, solve the inequality. 4x minus 7 is greater than 13. So a bit like before, I tend to solve these. I treat the inequality symbol like an equal sign and keep things steady, balanced on both sides. So I'm going to start by adding 7 to both sides. So that's going to give me 4x is greater than or equal to 20. And then I divide both sides by 4. So x is greater than or equal to 5. And that tends to work. The only exception is when we divide by a negative number, which I always try to avoid anyway. So I'm going x is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, for question 11. So Robin buys a watch for £80. He sells the watch for £56. Work out his percentage loss. I'm going to do this 2 ways. Just because it's a good excuse to use something on a calculator that I'll show you. I'll show you the standard way first of all though. So I'm looking at I'll show you the standard method first of all. So percentage change is going to be equal to the change divided by the original amount times by 100. So that's going to be equal to the change in, if I started, so 80 minus 56 will give me the change. So the price has changed by £24. The original price was 80, and I want to times that by 100. So that's going to give me that value over 80 times by 100. It's going to give me 30. So that's the percentage change, 30%. So I'll show you a quick method, quick second method. If you're not confident with this, really don't worry about it particularly. So 100% of the amount is equal to, so 100% is equal to 80, and we want to find what percentage 56 would be equal to. And we can kind of use our calculator, well, we can use our calculator for this, so we can use the ratio mode on our calculator, and we want to find this value here, so that's going to be mode 1. X is this. So this basically says, if I know ratio A to B and I want to find the ratio of something to D, but I know A, B and D, then I'd use mode 1. If I'm trying to find the mystery value being here, that would be mode 2, so mode 1. So if I type in a 100, and for my second one, I type in 80. And then my value that I know is 56. So that tells me 70%. So that new price is 70% of the original, which means that there's been a 30% change. I've miswritten that. If you're not confident with the ratio mode on your calculator, then I'd recommend you stick to that. But if you want to give it a try before your exam, get a bit more familiar with it, it is a useful mode. Okay, question 12. Here are two identical rectangles. Jim says the two rectangles are similar because 2 plus 4 is equal to 12 and 6 plus 10 is equal to 10. Is Jim correct? Explain your answer. My initial thought is absolutely no, but let's have a look. For them to be similar, they need to have the same scale factor. So 12 divided by 8, no, I'm on the wrong mode. So 12 divided by 8, so the scale factor to get from this side to this side is times by 1.5. So 6 times by 1.5 is equal to 9. So that doesn't work. So is Jim correct? No. Scale factor between bases, which are 8 and 12, does not equal scale factor of heights, which is 6 and 10. And I'm sure that will be enough for that question. Question 13. A group of football fans were asked what their half-time snack was. Table below gives information about their answers. So we've got draw an accurate pie chart for this information. So my first thing, I'm going to work out the angle size of my pie chart. So I tend to do this in a quite straightforward way. So my total here is going to be 11 plus 17 plus 8. So my total is going to be 36. And I want my total of my angles to be 360. So that means that I've got a multiplier of 10 for each one of these. So each person's vote is going to be worth 10. So I need 110, 170, and 80 angles. So I haven't got a good protractor that I can use on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip this picture into a different diagram. Okay, so on here I can kind of bring up a protractor. What I can do is, let me bring up my protractor. So this kind of works like a protractor. It's not identical to yours, but process works in a similar way. So I want to do 110 angle. So if I start from 0 and measure 110, so that's my 110. I'm now going to change colour, so I'm going to just change colour to blue. I now want to do 170 degrees, so starting there. So let me just see if I can get that working. So that's my first section. So from where I picked off, I need to measure 170. So did that change colour? It did, yeah. And then I need to measure 80 as my final angle, and that should work out as the missing angle, but depending on how accurately I've drawn it. Doesn't look far off 80, but let's measure it. Pretty much perfect. So then I need to join them up with straight lines. I'm just going to do that freehand. So that's going to be my first section. I'll bring in a blue for my other section. So that was my point. Not drawn that very well. Actually, I'm going to redraw that using a ruler. So I paused that, and I think I've missed that question out. So just running through it quickly. Question 14, we said that the angles in a quadrilateral must equal 360. So I did 360 minus 120 minus 80 minus 120 gave you 40 degrees. And the reason being, angles in a quadrilateral equal 360, and for the second one, angles in a triangle need to add up to 180, and these angles add up to 190. Okay, question 15. On the grid, draw the graph of y is equal to 2x minus 3 for the values of minus 2 to 2. So I'm going to take a shortcut on this. There is nothing wrong with doing a table of values. In fact, I'll do the table of values to check. But I tend to draw it from principles of graphs. So y is equal to mx plus c. So m would be equal to 2, that's the gradient, and the intercept on the y-axis would be minus 3. So minus 3. And for every one full graduation across, I'm going to go up 2. So that's going to be my... I've gone slightly wrong here. I didn't go up 2. 1 across, 2 up. 1 across, 2 up. So that's going to be my line. And if I did it from a table of values, what I'd be saying is I'm going to make up some x values, and I'm going to find out their corresponding y values. So I can do as many as I want. I'm actually going to do them all, but you don't need to, because I'm going to show you the table function on your calculator, which can help for questions like this, for harder questions as well. So my table value is table 3, and the equation that I want is 2 lots of x, so 2 alpha x minus 3. I don't need a second function, so my starting value is minus 2. My end value is 2, and I'm going in steps of 1. So that tells me when x is minus 2, y should be minus 7, minus 5, minus 3, minus 1, and 1. And then you can double check this. So minus 2, 7, minus 7, minus 1, minus 5, 0, minus 3. So that works fine. Okay, for question 16, in the space below, use a ruler and compass to construct an equilateral triangle with sides of length 5 centimeters. You must show your construction lines. So again, I'm going to use my snipping tool to help me demonstrate this. And you're going to have to kind of imagine the compass a little bit. It's fairly good way of doing it though. So I need to start by drawing a 5 centimeter line. So just make that a bit bigger. Okay, so I'm going to draw a 5 centimeter line here. So I've got, yours will be slightly different. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's my 5 centimeter line. I feel like I've not gone quite far enough for that. 5 centimeter line. Then take my ruler off, and I need my compass. So to represent my compass, I'm using a protractor. But you can imagine the center of the protractor is where the point of your compass would go, and then the outside is where the pencil would go. So I need to open my compass arms wide enough so that my pencil is at the end of the line. So there. So now I've got my point of my compass at the one end of the line and my pencil at the other end of the line. And I've just realized this might not work particularly well. I should have maybe had a bit more space. But I'll show it this anyway. So I'm going to start by drawing an arc in the center from that point. I'm then going to kind of repeat the process, but I'm going to put my point of my compass on the end of the other line, and then my pencil at the end of where my compass just was, and then I'm going to do another arc into the center, and my two lines should cross. And where the two lines cross is going to be the other vertice, or the other point of the compass, the other point of the triangle. Then take my ruler, and I've drawn mine a little bit bigger than the space really gave me, but this is how you would do it. So I then want to join up the top of the triangle to the bottom of corner, and then spin my ruler around and do the same from the other side. So that's how I draw an equilateral triangle using a ruler and a compass. That's my method for it. So again, draw my 5 centimeter line, place the point of the compass on one end of the line, the pencil at the other end, and I do an arc into the center. Repeat the process from the other side, and then join them up. Okay, question 17 then. So the diagram shows a right angle triangle. Let me make that a little bit bigger. The diagram shows a right angle triangle with a quarter of a circle. The right angle triangle ABC has an angle of ABC is 90 degrees. The quarter of the circle has a center C and a radius CB. Work out the area of the quarter circle. You must give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So this is quite a nice question. It's going to involve a couple of steps. The first thing I'm going to have to do is work out this height, which I'm going to call X for now. Actually, I'm going to call it R. So I can call it whatever letter I want, but I'm going to call it R because I'm going to use it as the radius later on. So R squared is going to be equal to 9 squared minus 6 squared. So that's Pythagoras to find the shorter side. So that's going to be equal to, we'll bring our calculator in straight away. So 9 squared, wrong mode. 9 squared minus 6 squared. So that's going to give me 45. So the radius of the triangle is going to be equal to the square root of 45. Let's see whether that simplifies. 3 root 5. Could work it in decimal at this point. I'm going to leave it as 3 root 5 for now though. Work out the area of the quarter circle. So the area of a circle is going to be equal to pi r squared. but we want a quarter, so we want divided by 4. And we've got the radius here on our calculator. If we've gone decimal, it doesn't really matter, provided we use the same value. So shift pi times by the answer that I just had squared. And actually, we could have used 45 there, but and then I want to divide that by and I want to divide that by 4. So I'm going to write down what it shows me on the calculator, and then I'm going to write down the decimal version. So 35.34291 ... So to 3 significant figures, that's going to be rounded to that point there. So I'm going to go 35.3. Okay, nice question. Okay, question 18. So Ewan has 48 white tiles and 16 blue tiles. Write down the ratio of the number of white tiles to the number of blue tiles, given your ratio in its simplest form. So again, I'm going to bring in the ratio function on my calculator just to show this. So all I want to do is simplify. Actually, no, I'm not. So in a sense, probably the easiest way to simplify this down is to treat it like a fraction. So if I treated it as a fraction, 16 over 45, that will automatically, and I've put the wrong value in, 48. So that should simplify down to 1/3. So that's going to be 3 to 1. I've got this in the right order, white to blue, and that was white to blue. So it's going to be 3 to 1. Okay, the cost of each white tile is £2. The cost of each blue tile is £4. Work out the total. Work out the ratio of the total cost of white tiles to the total cost of blue tiles. Ratio. Okay. Total cost. So that's really asking for it not to be simplified. Work out the ratio of the total costs. So I'm going to give it as, I'm not fully sure on the wording of this, but I'm going to give it as a total cost to total cost of the white tiles to total cost of the blue tiles, and not simplify it. So if I go back to my original ratio, white to blue was the ratio of 48 to 16. Cost of white tiles is £2, and the cost of blue tiles was £4. So if I times those ratios by that, so 48 times by 2 would give me 96, and then 16 times by 4 would give me 64. So that ratio would simplify down, but it asked the ratio of the total cost. So I think arguably you could simplify it and it would still be right. £96 to £64. We could simplify it, but I think because it says total cost, I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, question 19. Here is a shape drawn on a grid. On the grid, draw the enlargement of a scale factor 3. So we're not given the centre of enlargement, so we can start this wherever we want, really. So yours may be starting in a completely different place to me. I'm going to start there, though. So instead of being 3 across, if I'm using a scale factor of 3, it's going to be 9 across. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So 9 squares across. And instead of being 2 squares up, it's going to be 6 squares up. And instead of being 2 squares across, it's going to be 6 squares across again. And then I join the final 2 points up, and that's my enlargement. Okay, part B. Describe fully the single transformation that maps A onto shape B. So if I look at two like points, that is a like point, I can see that it's a mirror image, so it's going to be a reflection. And then I need to describe the line that it's been reflected in. So halfway in between that point and that point is there. Halfway in between that point and that point is there. So that's the reflection line. And if I was to describe that, I've got two options for describing that. I could describe it as the line x is equal to 0. Or my second option, I'll put this in because I wouldn't put the answers down, but second, I could have said in the y-axis. That would be an acceptable answer. So I'll put that in as kind of in brackets. That would be an acceptable answer. Okay, question 20. The diagram shows two regular shapes. Work out the angle marked with an X. So I'm going to work out the two exterior angles and add them together. So I'm going to say that the exterior angle of the five-sided shape is going to be 360 divided by 5. And I'm going to say the exterior angle of the other shape is, again, 360 divided by 5. So all I'm going to have to do is two lots of that. So that should give me my answer. So let's go to my calculator. So 360 divided by 5. So each exterior angle is 72. So times that by 2. So two lots of it are going to be 144. So x would be 144. Possibly I didn't record that. So all I've done there is split that into two exterior angles and said 2 times by 360 divided by 5 is going to give me the size of each exterior angle. So it's going to be 144. Okay, question 21. Emily drives 186 miles in 3 hours. What is her average speed? Well, speed is equal to distance divided by time. So in this case, 186 divided by 3. So 62. Double check units are consistent. Miles per hour, working in miles and hours. That's absolutely fine. Sarah drives at an average speed of 58 miles per hour for 4 hours. How many miles does Sarah drive? Well, distance is going to be equal to speed times by time. So we're looking at 58 times by 4. So we're looking at 232 miles. Again, just double check units, miles and hours, hours. So my answer would be in miles. Okay, question 22. Right. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Okay, there we go. Write 2.7 times 10 to the minus 1 as an ordinary number. So in effect, that means that we're going to add a 0 in front of this number, so it's going to be 0.47. Let me just see if I type that into on my calculator using the standard form button, whether that will convert it for me. It does, yeah. So 0.47. Part B, work out the value of two standard form numbers multiplied together. So I'm just going to use my calculator for this. So open bracket, 2.4, standard form button, 3, close bracket, times by, and then same again, open bracket, 9.5, standard form button, 5. And provided I've typed that incorrectly, when I press equals, it will give me my value. 228 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. So I'm going to do this straight away without the calculator. So in effect, my decimal point's there, and I want to move it to there. So I'm moving it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 places. So it would be times 10 to the 9 minus 10 to the 9. I believe I can use my calculator to convert it into standard form. It's not something I would often bother doing, but just to show you, I believe if I go Shift, Setup, and then I want my number format, and I want it to be in scientific, and I'm going to go for 3 significant figures. So 2.29 times 10 to the 9. So you can use your calculator to convert into standard form, but it's a bit of a pain though, because now all of my numbers will be in standard form, but so I'd need to do a reset just to get them into the normal function. Good tip, always good practice to convert your calculator into normal function, because my issue now is if I do 3 times 6, it's giving me everything in standard form, and I don't want everything in standard form. So to do a reset, I could go Shift, Reset all is 3, equals, and then all clear. And now 2 times 3 gives me as an ordinary number. So it's a good tip. Okay, right. Again, the map shows the position of places A, B, and C on the edge of a lake. Find the bearing of B from A. Awkward question for me to do on a PDF, but I've snipped that picture onto a Word document, and I've created this kind of protractor just that I can show you exactly what I'm trying to do, which works slightly better. So bearing of B from A. So we're measuring from A, and if it'll let me draw. Okay, so whenever I'm bearing, I'm measuring from north, so I need to draw a north line on. So that's going to be my north line. And I want A from B, so in effect what I really want is this angle here. Because I'm using a protractor, a 180 degree protractor, what I'm actually going to do is measure the internal angle. So I place my protractor on the center of the angle, I spin my protractor around until my 0 line is running along the north line. So that's slightly out, but there. And then I'm reading the inside lines, the numbers that start from 0. So I'm looking roughly 35, slightly over on my diagram. I think that might be because it's not quite right placed. Let's just try again. There we go. So that looks bang on 35. So the internal angle is going to be 30. Oops. Let's move my protractor up my line. So that angle there is 35 degrees. So my actual angle is going to be 360 minus that. So if I go back to my PDF, so I'm going to do 360 minus 35, which is going to be 325. Let's double check with my calculator. 360 minus 35, oops, minus 35, 325 degrees. Okay, for part B, a ferry travels in a straight line from A to B. It then travels in a straight line from B to C. The speedboat travels in a straight line from A to C. How many more kilometers does the ferry travel than the speedboat? So I need to measure these distances using a ruler, A to B, B to A, and also A to C. I'm going to write them down here. I'm going to do it on my paper copy here, measure them. Hopefully these will be the same as you. So A to B is the first one I'm going to measure. So I make A to B 5.7 centimeters. Then I'm going to do B to C. B to C, using a ruler, I make it 6.9 centimeters. And then A to C is going to be 9 centimeters. Right, those are the distances on the what's it called, a map? Yeah, those are the distances on the map. I could convert them all into kilometers. I'm going to do this as a slight shortcut because it only involves one conversion. I'm going to find out the total distance in centimetres. So the total distance in centimetres is going to be 5.7 plus 6.9. The total distance in centimetres is going to be 12.6. And then I'm going to subtract the 9, so minus 9. So the difference in centimetres on the scale, on the map, sorry, is 3.6 centimetres. And then I'm going to convert that into actual distance. So I'm using a scale of 1 centimetre equals 2 kilometres, so I need to do 3.6 times by 2, which is going to give me 7.2, and then that's now in kilometres, so 7.2 kilometres. Okay, and moving on to question 24. So Rizwan writes down three numbers A, B, and C. Find the ratio of A to B to C, so combining ratios. So let's put them, I tend to do combining ratio questions like this. So I put the two ratios into kind of the format that I want them all. So A to B is 1 to 3, and B to C is 6 to 5. So they both have their b's in common, and I need to make their b's the same value. So the lowest common multiple of 3 and 6 is 6. To do that, I need to double the first ratio. So 2 to 3 is the same as the ratio 1 to 3. I've not needed to do anything with the second ratio, so it's 2 to 6 to 5. Express A as a fraction of the total of the three numbers A, B, and C. So the numerator is going to be the 2, and then the denominator is going to be the three parts added together. So 2 plus 6 plus 5, which is going to be 13. So it's going to be 2 out of 13. Okay, and then final question. Emma writes down three numbers, M, N, and P. N is equal to 2M, P is equal to 5N. Find M to P. So I'm going to do this two ways just to double check my work and also show you two ways. So my first method, if I've got the ratio, if I've got 2 is equal to M, then the ratio of M to N is going to be equal to, I would need, I've written that the wrong way around, I should have done it as N and M. So I'm going to need 2 lots of N to be equal to M. And then if I do the same for P to N, I'm going to have 5 lots of P is equal to 1 lot of N. So if I do combine them like that, so N to M to P, and I've not written those very well, but that's okay. We'll make up for that. So we've got the ratio 2 to 1 there, and we've got the ratio of P to N is 5 to 1. So that would be 5 there and 1 there. So to combine them, I'm going to have to make them all 2's. So the ratio of M to P would be 1 to 10. That's the first method, and I'm going to kind of check it with the second method, / show you with the second method. So if I'm told that N is equal to 2M and P is equal to 5N, then I can say that if I times this ratio by 5, both sides, 5N is equal to 10M. So I've got the ratio. Now I can actually substitute in P for 5N, so P is equal to 10M. And then if I express that as a ratio of M to P, I would need 1 lot of M would be equal to 10 lots of P. So I've got the ratio 1 to 10 either way. And that brings us to the end of the questions. So really nice paper there. I thought it was very much like an Edexcel exam, really well written by PixiMaths. Really appreciate that. Couple of really nice challenging questions on there. Which one did I think was? I thought this was a nice challenging on a foundation paper. Yeah, really nice paper. Thank you very much for that. Hopefully you found that useful. I will link the PixiMaths website in the link to this. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know. I will try, although I don't have a list, I will try to chapter this. So link, so question 1 was, and then put the topic. So if you struggled with a specific area, you can get some additional revision on that. But other than that, thank you very much for listening, taking the time to do the paper. I hope you found it useful, and good luck with your coming up exams.